Learning to read is one of the most important skills a child can learn. But some children find learning to read especially difficult, and they need effective assistance based on sound scientific principles and research. MiniLit stands for Meeting Initial Needs in Literacy. In this short video, we'll provide an overview of MiniLit, showing you how it's designed to give young, struggling readers the skills they need to become successful readers. Over the past 40 years, scientific reading researchers have made enormous progress in our understanding of the mechanics of how children learn to read and how reading should best be taught. It's now clear that the components of an early literacy program are best taught explicitly and systematically in 5 key areas. Converging research has shown these key areas to be phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary and comprehension. These are sometimes known as the 5 big ideas of reading instruction. MiniLit takes a contemporary, coordinated approach that integrates these 5 big ideas, providing a firm framework that balances the components of effective literacy instruction to ensure the best opportunity for reading success. MiniLit is a small group early literacy intervention program designed specifically for young struggling readers. This intervention is typically offered during the second year of formal schooling, as soon as the student has been identified as having continuing difficulties that can't be addressed in the whole class setting. The program provides teachers with a practical and effective model for teaching reading skills to students struggling in the early years. MiniLit is the product of an ongoing program of research and development carried out by a specialist team of academic researchers and special educators, led by Professor Kevin Weldall from Macquarie University.
MiniLit has been designed as a Tier 2 small group intervention program within a response to intervention framework. Response to intervention is a means of providing all students with the support that they'll need to learn to read quickly. Typically, it comprises 3 stages or tiers of instruction. Tier 1 refers to whole class instruction based on the 5 big ideas, preferably taught in a direct, explicit and systematic way. Most children will learn to read quickly when offered reading support like this, but some will still struggle. Perhaps up to 25% of students will need additional support. Tier 2 provides this additional, more intensive support via small group instruction, and MiniLit is specifically designed for just this purpose. Tier 2 support will prove effective for most young struggling readers, leaving only a very small minority who will need even more intensive instruction. Tier 3 instruction is for those few students who will still struggle even after receiving Tier 2 support. These students need even more intensive one-to-one instruction so that their specific idiosyncratic needs may be met. The MiniLit program can still be used individually with such children.
MiniLit targets the bottom 25% of students. Teachers need to identify these struggling readers using the guidelines provided in the program. Once these students have been identified, a placement test is used to indicate the starting point in the program for each young reader. By working with a small group of up to just 4 students, teachers have the opportunity to tailor their teaching specifically to the needs of those students and offer more intensive instruction. Dr. Marie Reynolds is part of the Multi-Lit Research Unit.
Well, early intervention is the best way to prevent reading failure. The longer the reading difficulties persist, the more likely they are to become entrenched and the larger the gap between students becomes. So it's really important to identify students who are struggling early and to provide some assistance for them. MiniLit is for Year 1 students who are struggling to learn to read after 1 year of initial instruction. It's been found to be successful for a range of students, including students from disadvantaged, Indigenous and culturally diverse backgrounds, and for students with special needs. Well, recent research over the last 5 years, including randomised controlled trials, has shown consistently that students make remarkable gains following MiniLit instruction.
MiniLit consists of 80 carefully structured lessons in an easy to hard sequence and is divided into 2 levels with 40 lessons at each level. There are 3 main components of each lesson, all of which should be carried out every time a MiniLit lesson is taught. The 3 components are sounds and words activities, text reading and storybook reading, all of which we'll look at now in a little more detail. The sounds and words activities comprise up to 10 short, carefully sequenced tasks that take about 30 to 40 minutes to complete. They cover phonemic awareness, phonics or word attack skills, sight words and text reading. The activities are divided into discrete reading, listening and spelling tasks. Each task takes between 2 to 8 minutes to deliver, depending on its length and complexity. Activities in this component of the lesson include oral segmenting, oral blending, letter-sound correspondences, sounding out words, sight words instruction, reading sentences and paragraphs, spelling and writing newly learned words, and many more. At the end of each sounds and words activities session, a brief game is played to reinforce key concepts and skills that have been taught. Students are tested throughout the program, and only when the group has successfully mastered the current skill do they move on to the next. Text reading is a crucial component of any effective reading program. It allows students to generalise the skills taught in isolation to reading actual text. Students are provided with an opportunity to practice their newly acquired decoding skills and knowledge of sight words in a meaningful context. At the same time, text reading also helps to develop reading fluency. Text reading takes 7 to 10 minutes to deliver and is the second component of the MiniLit program. In Level 1 of the MiniLit program, phonically regular reading schemes are used to provide students with an opportunity to read books. The reading schemes should slowly increase in complexity as students become more competent in their reading. This provides an added opportunity for students to decode words where phonic patterns haven't been explicitly taught. In Level 2 of the MiniLit program, students are exposed to higher level readers and natural language texts where they're reading books at instructional level. Teachers will use a modified version of the well-known pause, prompt and praise strategies. Each child is asked to read a couple of sentences while the rest of the group follows along. Intermittently, the teacher may model reading a couple of sentences to demonstrate fluent reading. This means each student is given plenty of opportunities to practice their reading. MiniLit students are provided with additional vocabulary and comprehension instruction through storybook reading. The storybook reading section of each lesson lasts for up to 10 minutes and is the final component of the MiniLit program. It involves the teacher reading to the students using the same storybook over 3 days. Typically, these books, written by popular authors, can be found in your classroom or school library. The storybook reading session includes prepared questions about the story that are designed to support comprehension, concept development and vocabulary. Interactive dialogue between students and teacher is facilitated throughout the session. Research shows that active dialogue between students and teacher improves vocabulary and comprehension rather than mere passive listening. It's also known that focused teaching of oral language skills in the early years improves reading comprehension. There are 3 main elements to storybook reading as each new story is read over 3 successive days. On the first day, the teacher helps students make predictions about the story before reading the story from beginning to end. This encourages students to listen to and engage with the story. The teacher then guides students into giving a summary of the book in their own words. On the second day, the teacher rereads the book and asks at least one question at the end of every page about the story and specific vocabulary. On day 3 of the cycle, the students are encouraged to tell the story in their own words. The teacher then guides students to use the new vocabulary in sentences of their own. MiniLit has been designed to cover approximately 20 weeks of instruction, generally 2 school terms. The program needs to be delivered at least 4 times per week to maximise progress in learning to read. There should never be more than 4 students in any one MiniLit group, and typically, teachers may need to run at least 2 groups. Students should be seated close to the teacher so that they can see both the teacher and the whiteboard, and so that the teacher can monitor students' verbal responses and written work effectively. Those delivering MiniLit need to have a good grasp of what effective reading instruction entails, know how to manage the behaviour of students in a small group, and be thoroughly conversant with the program so they can deliver it in a fast-paced, dynamic way. This is why specific training in MiniLit is so important. Preparation is the key to making your instruction effective. While the program is structured carefully to support effective instruction, teachers should familiarise themselves thoroughly with the lesson content before delivering it. With adequate preparation, it's much easier to pace your presentation so the lesson is delivered in an engaging way. And of course, positive teaching strategies need to be used throughout the lesson to optimise student engagement and learning time. The prospect of delivering MiniLit may seem a little daunting at first, but with practice you'll soon be familiar with the program and enjoy sharing in your students' reading success. By intervening early to help young, struggling readers, you can change the course not only of their school career, but their whole life experience.